Imagine you finally made it. You started a successful business, got that massive promotion, or finally won the influence you always wanted. Now you need a team. You need people you can trust with your life. Naturally, you look at your best friend, the person who knows your secrets, the one who stayed up late with you talking about the future. You hire them, you hand them power. You think you've built an unbreakable fortress. But in reality, you have just signed your own execution warrant. History, psychology, and the brutal laws of human nature show that the moment you give a friend power, a countdown clock starts ticking. Within months, that same friend can turn on you, resent you, or watch passively as you fall. Meanwhile, the sworn enemy you've been fighting for years, they might actually become the single most loyal, hardworking asset you could ever have. Why does affection turn into dangerous jealousy, while hatred can be flipped into Law 2 of Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. To understand why Robert Greene wrote this law, we have to look at how power actually works in the real world. Greene doesn't look at humanity through the lens of how we should act. He looks at how we actually act when stakes are high. Greene illustrates this beautifully through a brutal historical story from the Byzantine Empire. In the mid-9th century, a young emperor named Michael III took the throne. He was surrounded by scheming politicians, dangerous rivals, and untrustworthy family members. Feeling completely alone, Michael looked for someone he could trust blindly, a true friend. He found that friend in a young man named Basilius. Basilius was a peasant, a rough-around-the-edges horse trainer who had saved Michael's life from a wild animal. Michael was deeply grateful. He showered Basilius with gifts, raised his social status, and eventually made him a co-emperor. Michael thought, "I have turned a peasant into a king. He owes me everything. He will be my most loyal shield." But power changes the chemistry of a relationship. As Basilius gained wealth and influence, he looked around and realized his entire life, status, and reputation depended entirely on Michael's charity. Every time he looked at Michael, he didn't feel gratitude. He felt small. He was constantly reminded that he was just a charity case. The gratitude withered away, replaced by a burning, toxic envy. Basilius began to crave total independence. He didn't want to be the friend who was helped. He wanted to be the master. One night, Basilius entered Michael's bedroom with a band of soldiers. As Michael slept soundly, trusting his best friend to protect the palace, Basilius had him brutally murdered. Basilius then took the throne for himself. Michael's fatal mistake wasn't that he was a bad ruler. His mistake was assuming that favors buy loyalty. Contrast this with the legendary Chinese warlord, Cao Cao. Cao Cao had a bizarre habit. He rarely executed talented enemies who tried to kill him. Instead, if an enemy strategist or general showed brilliant skill, Cao Cao would capture them, spare their lives, and offer them high-ranking positions in his own military. His advisors thought he was insane. Why keep a snake in your tent? But Cao Cao understood human psychology deeply. An enemy knows exactly where they stand with you. They expect death or imprisonment. When you spare them and elevate them, you create a powerful psychological reaction. The need to prove worth. An enemy turned ally will work 10 times harder than a friend because they have everything to prove and a massive debt to clear. They know that one slip-up means their past will be remembered. Consequently, Cao Cao's fiercest, most loyal generals were often the very men who had previously tried to take his head. The core ideas. Let's strip away the historical stories and look at the core ideas in simple, modern terms. Law 2 boils down to 3 simple psychological concepts. First is the envy of the equal. When you are friends with someone, you are equals. You share jokes, complain about life, and vent together. But the moment you become successful, the moment you become the boss, the influencer, or the leader, you shatter that equality. Your friend looks at you and thinks, "We used to be the same. Why are they up there while I'm down here?" Your success triggers their deepest insecurities. Second is the mask of honesty. We think friends tell us the truth. In reality, friendship is built on keeping the peace. Friends mask their true feelings, withhold harsh critiques to avoid hurting your feelings, and nod along with your bad ideas. When you bring a friend into a professional environment, they often expect special treatment. They think your relationship means rules don't apply to them, making them incredibly difficult to manage. Third is the currency of the enemy. An enemy is a clean slate. There is no emotional baggage, no nostalgia, and no unspoken resentment. When you work with an enemy on a business level, the boundaries are perfectly clear. Both sides know exactly what they want. It is a relationship built on mutual utility, which is far more stable than a relationship built on shifting, unstable emotions. Deep analysis. To truly master this law, we must look past the surface level. Let's break down the deeper psychological architecture behind it. Why does it work? It works because of human comparison. In psychology, social comparison theory states that humans determine their own worth based on how they stack up against others. Crucially, we do not compare ourselves to billionaires or famous celebrities. We compare ourselves to our peers, the people in our immediate circle. When a stranger succeeds, it doesn't hurt. When your childhood best friend succeeds, it triggers a painful psychological alarm. Your rise makes them feel like they are failing. When does it work? This law is highly effective in high-stakes environments like business, startups, and corporate management. In these spaces, resources are scarce and egos are everywhere. It also works in turnaround situations. If you take over a failing department or company, hiring a former rival who knows the flaws of the old system is wildly effective. They will expose the rot faster than any friend trying to protect feelings. When does it fail? Robert Greene's laws are brilliant, but they are not absolute truths. Law 2 fails spectacularly in two major scenarios. First, the fanatical enemy. If your enemy hates you because of deep-seated personal, religious, or moral beliefs, you cannot buy them off. Sparing them or hiring them will not make them loyal. It simply gives them a closer position to destroy you. Second, the rare, high-character friend. There are rare individuals who possess exceptional emotional intelligence and secure egos. These friends can celebrate your success without resentment. If you apply law too cynically to everyone, you risk isolating yourself and destroying genuinely pure human connections. Author versus reality. What did Robert Greene get right, and where did his thesis miss the mark? What Greene got right is the fragility of human gratitude. In his book, he notes that gratitude is a heavy burden. Human beings hate feeling indebted. When you constantly help a friend, you are inadvertently reminding them of their weakness. Greene understood that human behavior is driven by hidden undercurrents of ego and status, not just surface-level kindness. What Greene got wrong is that his extreme cynicism overlooks the power of psychological safety and shared values. Modern psychology shows that teams built entirely on transactional fear and utilizing enemies often suffer from toxic work cultures and a complete lack of genuine innovation. If everyone is constantly playing chess against each other, no one is actually building anything sustainable. The timeless truth of Law 2 is the warning against nepotism. Throughout history, mixing unearned emotional relationships with professional authority is a recipe for catastrophic failure. Modern-day relevance. How does this look in our world right now, in the era of social media, AI startups, and modern careers? Think about the startup and co-founder trap. The business world is littered with the corpses of companies started by best friends. Two friends get a great idea, split equity 50-50 out of fairness, and start working. But within a year, one friend works 18-hour days while the other slacks off. Because they are friends, the hard worker hesitates to confront the slacker. Resentment builds in the shadows. Eventually, the company fractures, lawsuits fly, and both the business and the friendship die. Modern investors often prefer co-founders who have a history of working together effectively, rather than people who are simply drinking buddies. Also, look at social media and public figures. Who are the people who leak private messages, expose recordings, and drop expose videos that ruin careers? It is almost never their public enemies. It is almost always their disgruntled former friends. Personal opinion. Robert Greene's Law 2 is a brilliant tactical shield, but a terrible lifestyle. In business, you must adopt it. You cannot hire people just because you like them. You must hire for competence. A rival who challenges you and keeps you sharp is vastly more valuable than a soft friend who blindly nods along. However, applying this to your personal life will turn you into a paranoid shell of a human being. If you view every loved one as a future traitor, you win at power but lose at being human. The secret is simple. Keep your friendship circles clean of professional dependency and keep your business circles clean of unearned friendship. Key lessons: never hire out of sympathy. Always promote or hire based strictly on skill and track record, never because someone needs a break. Set clear boundaries. If you must work with friends, sign clear contracts and performance metrics before a single dollar changes hands. Watch for passive envy. Pay close attention to friends who give half-hearted congratulations or make passive-aggressive jokes about your success. Leverage your detractors. Ask your critics exactly where your flaws are. Turn their negative energy into a free, honest audit of your weaknesses. Final verdict: I rate this law an 8 out of 10. It is essential reading for entrepreneurs and leaders, but individuals prone to anxiety or working in collaborative, relationship-driven fields should avoid its cynical approach. The ending affection breeds an expectation of safety, which blinds us to envy. Hatred leaves no room for illusion. It keeps us alert. Take a hard look at your circle. Remember, a fake friend's hug can hold a hidden dagger, but a reformed enemy's shield might just save your life. Hit subscribe, drop a comment, and stay sharp. See you in the next video.